I've been using the M5 Stack Atom Echo as a local voice control here on my desk for a while now, and it has some shortcomings, one of which is the speaker. It's a very tiny speaker, and it doesn't have the range, and it also doesn't have some of the processing power and features that I would like to see in a local voice control device. Seeed Studio was kind enough to send me their ReSpeaker Lite for me to try out, and they also sent a little speaker with it. So we're going to dig into that today, get it installed in Home Assistant, and give it some testing. Let's get started. If you're not familiar with Seed Studio, they make pretty much, or at least distribute pretty much everything here in terms of AI hardware and IoT stuff. They are a IT hardware products and technical support company. They are known as Seed Studio, and they specialize in hardware research, production, and sales for edge computing, network communication, smart sensing, and a bunch of other R&D support services for customized stuff. If you look at their product page, they have just tons and tons of different things that you can get through Seed Studio. The thing I got today, of course, is the Seed Studio ReSpeaker Lite, and let's take a quick look at that. Now this does come in different options. Let me show you that real quick here. You'll notice before I do that, let me show you this. This has the actual board on it, the ESP32S3. This is your communications MCU board. And that's so you can talk to different things with it, wirelessly, etc. So if we look at this web page, you've got options for the 2-mic array, the 2-mic voice assistant kit. And that's what I have. I have the voice assistant kit. You need to have that kit if you want to do the voice assistant stuff through Home Assistant and other smart home systems. You can also get a 4-mic array. It's a different board, 4-mic array with case. This is a completely different board again. And then a Pi hat. So there's different options for this ReSpeaker. But this is the one I have today, the 2-mic voice assistant. And as of this video, it's about $30 or 30 US dollars. So it's very reasonable. And it comes with what you need, minus the speaker, in order to be able to use it with Home Assistant. This is that board. And again, here is the ESP32S3. This is your MCU that does all the communications work, the data work. And then of course the pad that we talked about, the JTAG here. This is where you'll plug in your external speaker. This is where you'll power it from. And then there's actually a 3.5 millimeter jack here for headphone connection or whatever. And then on the back side, these are your microphones. You've got dual microphones, one here and one here. That helps in order to diversify the input and kind of block out noise and things like that. And then you have RGB lighting here for various stuff that you can use that for. And on the back side, you've got a USR button here and then a mute button. So you could mute that. I'm not sure what the USR button is for. So that's the board itself. And when it came in the box, this antenna here was not connected. You can see here that there's some 3M tape on the back. That goes on this little section of the board right here. You want to connect your antenna for Wi-Fi connection to that part of the board right there. And that's the board itself. It also came with a speaker. This is a mono enclosed speaker, 5 watts, also made or provided by Seed Studio. And let's just open it up and take a look at it. And this is it just looks like a standard 5-watt 4-ohm speaker. And again, it just plugs into the board right here. So then you'll have your external speaker to be able to hear what's going on. I mean, you could use that connector and plug it to whatever speaker you wanted to, as long as it was the right impedance, which in this case looks like 4 ohms. And then, something that would handle the output power that this would generate. I would suspect this doesn't generate more than a few watts. So you'll be able to put it into anything that you want to use that for. So if you have an enclosure already and you already have a speaker, something you want to use for this, you can certainly do that. So That's the board. What we're going to do now is we're going to get into setting this all up through Home Assistant. It's very easy. You do have some prerequisites, and on their website they talk about that. Let me go through the specs real quick. This is a pre-soldered ESP board. Hold on. It has the ESP32S3. It's on the I-25 pins. It has dual microphone array for far field voice capture. So 2 high performance microphones. Even in noise environments, it says cancels point noise using 2 microphone input. It's got the NLU powered by the XMOS XU316 sound and audio chip. It includes natural language understanding for interference cancellation, acoustic echo cancellation, noise suppression, and automatic gain control. So this right here is going to be great for environments where you have a lot of stuff going on. It helps to get rid of all that background noise and makes it easier for the system to understand what you're asking. It's open source hardware, compatible with Arduino, Platform IO, MicroPython, CircuitPython, etc. It's also compatible with all the different voice assistants, including ESPHome and Home Assistant, which is what we're going to use it for today. And there is an onboard programmable WS2812 RGB LED for custom effects and whatever you want to do with that. So same thing all over again right here. We talked about the hardware. There's the flow chart. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get this installed into Home Assistant. And there is an actual application thing over here, voice assistant system for Home Assistant. And what you need for that, so you need the ReSpeaker Lite voice assistant kit. That's important. You don't want just the board itself, you want the kit. You need a Home Assistant device, which is your Home Assistant instance, your Home Assistant server. And then this is for them playing around with it. We can use this on anything. I already have tons of smart home devices. They talk you through using a Sonoff Basic R2 as the test, but I'll use something else. And then we'll go through all the setup here. So in addition to the hardware that it shows up here, you also have a few things you need to install in Home Assistant. These are official add-ons that you'll install from the add-on store. You need ESPHome, Whisper, Piper, and OpenWakeWord. All of those enable you to run Home Assistant voice control locally within your own system without having to worry about going out to any cloud service. Doing this is super simple. You just go over to Settings here and click on Add-ons. And then what you want to do is go down here to the add-on store and search for each one of these. So I will search for Piper and install it here. Just click on Install. This is the same process for all of these. I'll show you this one, then you can do the rest of them. But you'll do OpenWakeWord, ESPHome if you don't have that one already, and then also Whisper. All right, once it's installed, make sure you click on Start on Boot, and then you can enable the watchdog as well if you want to. Click on Start, and then again, go through each one of these, install the Whisper and ESPHome and OpenWakeWord. And once you have all of those installed, then you'll want to reboot Home Assistant. And once Home Assistant is restarted, you want to go over here to Devices and Services, back to Integrations, and you're going to see that it discovered OpenWakeWord, Piper, and Whisper. We're just going to configure each one of these. There's nothing really to do other than to say yes, and it will just add those to our system. And remember, integration is the glue that ties add-ons into Home Assistant proper. And that's why we do this. So now we have an integration for each one of these. All right, once you've done all of that, you can come down here to Wyoming Protocol, and you should be able to see OpenWakeWord, Piper, and Whisper. So now you've prepped Home Assistant to be ready for voice control. We need to prep the ReSpeaker board for that, and it requires installing some firmware. So what we'll do is we'll go over to Home Assistant here to ESPHome in the add-ons section. Go to the web UI, and then we're going to click on New Device over here. So there's a button over here that says New Device. We're going to click on Continue. We're not going to go to the web yet. We're going to click on Continue. We're going to give it a name. Let's just call it ReSpeaker. We're going to click on Next, and it will ask you what kind of board this is. This is an ESP32S3. And then you can skip this for now, and it's going to create you an entry right here. And we're going to edit this. Now on the documentation for the ReSpeaker site, there is some YAML that you need to put in here. And also note that you need to replace the Wi-Fi info in here. So here's a whole bunch of YAML. All you need to do is copy this, and you're going to paste it back in here in this section. Get rid of everything that's in here. And you're going to paste what you just copied from the other side. Now, the one thing you'll have to do, like I said, is you will have to update the Wi-Fi information to match your Wi-Fi credentials. In fact, let me just paste my configuration over here. So what this does is it goes to your secrets section under ESPHome, and it pulls your Wi-Fi username and your Wi-Fi password and puts it here instead. So we'll save it, and then we will click on install. And we're going to do a manual download because we're going to upload this into the board directly once it's finished. So we're just going to click on manual download. It's going to go through here, and depending on the speed of your device, your Home Assistant device, it's going to compile all of this information and build out the file that we need to install later on. So let that complete, and then we'll come back to that after it's finished. Okay, so once it's all finished, it's going to ask you what version you want to download. You want to download the factory format, previously known as Modern. That's for use with ESPHome Web and other tools, which we're going to be using. So then you download it, and I'm going to keep that. Thank you for the security. So once you have that file downloaded and saved on your local computer, we're going to go to ESP Web. This is the easiest way for you to install something on a device if you're not doing it over the air. It's web.esphome.io. Before you do that, you need to make sure your device is actually connected to your computer. So we'll just go over here and we'll grab a cable from my computer. And we're going to plug this into ESP device here. You'll notice there's two ways to power this. I believe you can either do it from the power cord here or through this. I'm not sure which way is the best way to do this, but I'm assuming since we're going to flash this, this is probably the way to do this. So I'll plug it in here for now, and for the full-time use, I probably want to use the power connector there. All right, so it's plugged in. You've got some lights on there. Let's go back over to this, click on connect. And if you're not sure which one of these it is, you can actually unplug the device and it will go away. So if I unplug it, you should see the port go away that it's plugged into. So plug that back in. You also can tell this is the USB JTAG unit, and that's what this is. So I'm going to click there and connect on it. And I'm going to install using this file that I found earlier, that I had earlier, that I downloaded. And it's the ESP factory file. So the ESP32S3 factory file that we just created, and we're going to click on install. It's going to connect to it. It's going to erase what's already on there, and it's going to go through the whole process of installing. And it looks to be quite fast, actually. And now the configuration is installed on the device. And once you've closed that window, you can come back over to Home Assistant, close that out, close this out. Let's go over to settings and integrations again. Now you'll see this ReSpeaker ESPHome thing discovered. Click on configure, and it'll add that to Home Assistant. And you can give it an area if you want to. And now this device should be connected to Home Assistant. And you can find it under ESP devices. Here's your ReSpeaker right here. It took a refresh, but here's all of the settings here. Your preferred assist pipeline and your finished speaking detection thing here. Here's something I forgot to do on this before. We need to go over to voice assistants. So I'm going to click on, I'm going to press the C key, and I'm going to search for voice assistants. We need to set up the things we installed just a moment ago. You can use the default, or you can add one. I'm just going to use the default here. And what you want to do is change your conversation and your speech, or your speech to text and your text to speech. Now it already looks like it's done here. Faster Whisper is our speech to text engine, and text to speech is or Piper is our text to speech engine. And you can change the different voices and whatnot. And then your wake word, we're going to use OpenWakeWord. And that's already all set up for us. So this is something you'll have to do. Make sure you choose the wake word you want to use. I'm going to change it to Hey Jarvis. The OpenWakeWord training, by far, OK Nabu is probably the best trained WakeWord right now. So if you're having issues, make sure you try with that one first. Otherwise, you can try some of those other ones as well. So now I need to plug in my speaker, which I didn't do before, and see if this actually works. All right, so now if I say the WakeWord, and let me turn it over because the microphones are on the back. I don't know if it matters that much. If I say, hey, Jarvis.
Sorry, I couldn't understand that.
That was incredibly loud. All right, I don't know if there's any way to turn down the volume. I'm going to have to experiment with that because right now it's kind of blowing me out of the room. But it works well. It's very loud, which is a plus because the M5 stack Atom Echo speaker was not loud at all. So this one is too loud. Obviously, there's probably an adjustment that I need to go into the software and look for. So I'll dig into that later on. But for now, it's working well. One thing I want to show you then is let's just go through a couple of examples here. If we look at the screen here, you'll see that I've got, let's call this, or this is the kitchen lighting. So if I say, how about this? If I say, hey, Jarvis, turn on kitchen, you'll see that you'll see the light came on. And I switched the voice to a different voice output for Piper. So then I say, watch right here. Hey, Jarvis, turn off kitchen.
Turned off the switch.
And now it's off. And I can do the same thing. Hey, Jarvis, turn on game room.
Turned on the light.
And you'll see that light came on. Hey, Jarvis, turn off game room.
Turned off the light.
You'll see here that I also have the speaker pointed straight down. Just because it's so loud. If I set it up, it's going to be even louder. Hey, Jarvis, turn on media fan.
Turned on the fan.
Yeah. Wow. That's so loud. Hey, Jarvis, turn off media fan.
Turned off the fan.
All right, there we go. So obviously, there's some adjustment that needs to be done on the speaker. However, the device was super simple to set up. As you saw, install Piper, install OpenWakeWord and Whisper, ESPHome, load the software, flash it, and then you have it. What I don't have, obviously, is I don't have any case for this. This is something you'll have to work on, and I'm sure there are 3D printed options out there. There's different ways to do this. So you'll need to have something to install this in. I mean, you could just go buy any kind of enclosure. You could buy a speaker off the shelf as long as it's the right impedance, and you can just plug it in here and just use this board. The board is really the workhorse, right? This is what's doing all the work. This is a nice to have. The microphones are on the board. So all you need to do is make sure that the microphones are exposed so that they can be used, and then you can hook up any speaker you want to. And then you adjust the volume. Again, I'll figure out the volume piece. If I figure that out, I'll update y'all on that through a community post or something, just so I can see where it is. The other thing I noticed is that you should be able to set up the, let me get to integrations here and I'll tell you. The light, if I go to ESPHome and I find the ReSpeaker, it has use listen light enabled, but there's no light happening. I think the light is supposed to be, if I can get the right screen, if the light is supposed to be right here, and I'm not sure why. If I push the mute button, all right, so you can mute it. You do see that the light lights up when you hit the mute button, so that light is working. For some reason, the listen light doesn't work. So I'm going to turn off the listen light here. Maybe it's backwards. Hey, Jarvis, turn on kitchen.
Turned on the switch.
Oops, it's loud. That didn't work. So I'll have to figure out too why that's not working. But the listen light should come on whenever this is working. And you'll see the assist in progress here. that's when it's listening and doing what it's supposed to, and that's when the light should come on. Hey Jarvis, turn off kitchen.
Turned off the switch.
And see it's working. So we know it's working. It just, for some reason, the light here is not coming on. So a couple things to look at. Otherwise, it's a far better device than what my M5 Stack Echo was. It seems to respond much faster. I'll have to do some testing in noisy environments whenever kids are running around, when the vacuum cleaner is running, all that stuff, and see how it works. But so far, it's definitely an improvement over the device that I already was running, that M5 Stack Echo. And I'm anxious to get into a little case, a little bit better permanent mounting. All right, that's it for the Seed Studio ReSpeaker Lite voice assistant kit with the speaker and the MCU board on there. Let me know if you have any questions down below in the comments, or you can also ask me those on Discord. If you're a channel member or a Patreon supporter, thank you so much for the support. It really helps with what I do here. If not, you can certainly support me those ways. And always make sure you hit that subscribe and like button, and it helps the algorithm do its thing. Until then, we'll see you on the next video.